All right, I want to take you to live pictures out of Los Angeles tonight where you can see this emergency is far from over. The inferno is still raging as desperate crews try to contain the blaze. Let's go live to Roxanne Hoge, Los Angeles resident and California Republican delegate who is in North Hollywood. Roxanne, thank you so much for joining me this evening. We spoke before the U.S. election, and I'm sorry to be speaking to you under these circumstances, but tell us how things are right now where you are this evening.
Well, James, as you know, because you've been here, Los Angeles County is overwhelmingly large. We're the most populous county in the United States of America, so 10 million people pretty much make their home here, and that covers about 4,000 square miles. So when people say, oh, are you affected by the fire in Pacific Palisades when you live in North Hollywood, you can say, no, that's very far away. What's been so dangerous about the high wind conditions that we've had in the past few days in these fires is that they are popping up seemingly everywhere with no notice. Now, part of that is due to the wind, of course, catching embers or bits of trees flowing around and then being carried on the wind. But one of the things, the only thing you did not mention in your very excellent summary was the amount of unhoused what we call homeless people here in California who, whether lighting up for their drugs or lighting a fire to keep themselves warm, they start fires. Before this week, 90% of the fires that LA Fire was checking out that they had to respond to were set by homeless. So this latest fire, which was on my way home from where I was working earlier tonight, looks to have been one of those. I think we're right now almost all contained there, but they're popping up at any minute. It's very hard for friends of mine to sleep well because you think, oh, well, that's over on the coast. And then the Eaton fire happens, which is in Pasadena. And then Woodley popped up over on the 405. And then Santa Monica got hit. And it's all been a bit much.
Yeah, no, Roxanne, it's just an unbelievable disaster that's unfolding before our eyes. Tell us, one of the things that I keep hearing about is fire hydrants that have no water in them. So firefighters go to the scenes of fires, they try to put out a fire on a street or in a house, and they can't get any water. What's happening with that?
That was especially problematic in Pacific Palisades, which, by the way, I can't express to you what a beautiful neighborhood that was. It's quintessentially what you think of as actual great living in California. And I have friends, every one of them has lost their home, and every one of them, their families have lost their homes. It is unbelievable. And it was there that there wasn't enough water to fight the fires. Now, the government, as you so aptly put it, completely incompetent, has put out a statement, Department of Water and Power, saying, you know, there weren't any issues, but if there were any, they were created by a lack of supply and water pressure. Yes, we know. That's why there was no water to fight these fires. I think it's especially devastating, whether you live here or you're just watching, to see a street right next to the Pacific Ocean of houses that burned, or to see Pacific Palisades, which is right on, a bluff above the ocean, every house practically with a swimming pool, and say, how can this happen? There is water everywhere. Well, there was no plan. There's no follow through. It's just terrible.
And how are people rating, and how are you rating? You speak to a lot of people. You would have a lot of friends there, and you've been involved in politics as well. How are people feeling about Gavin Newsom's response on this? He did speak earlier today. I know Donald Trump has called on him to resign his position. Is anger starting to build at the Democrat regime there in California?
I think right now, you go through all the stages of grief.
Sure.
The friends I see some are shell-shocked. Everybody is grateful, right, that they got out. There's been 5 deaths so far in the Altadena area. All my friends in Pacific Palisades, a lot of mothers, we all banded together during the COVID lockdowns. They are grateful that their families are with them and that they're all together and alive. And I think the anger is going to come for most people Gavin Newsom is completely irrelevant. There's a lot of posturing happening around here, but for someone to, have been so prescient 2 days, I don't even know what day it is. I don't know what day it is to think, oh, I'm going to leave the house early, pack a bag, get the kids and pull them out of school. And then not only do you never get to go back, there's nothing to go back to. So they're definitely in shock, people with the clothes on their back. One of the things I said tonight when I saw a friend of mine at a news station in Los Angeles, she has 2 pairs of shoes for her and her daughter to split, and the clothes on their back. They have money to get more, but it doesn't matter how much money or resources you have when you reach for something or think of something or just remember something that's no longer there. It's going to hurt for a very long time. And sadly, the people for whom leftist politics is a religion will all nod their heads and say, yes, it is climate change, peace be upon her. That must be the problem, and not blame who they need to blame.
And finally, it is very early to start talking about this, about the rebuilding process, but I am also hearing that there's a lot of concern about insurance, and an awful lot of people have had their insurance pulled. There's a Californian insurance program, but that's not going to cover the losses that a lot of people have here, is it?
Well, it's going to be compounded. Problems compound. So do solutions. It would be great if we got some. But in addition to the not allowing insurance companies to raise their rates, and so insurance companies left or stopped offering fire coverage because of the government actions. Building in California, especially in Los Angeles, it's not easy. Hillside areas, they layer on new laws every year. So on January 1st, there are laws about what you can do in a renovation, what sort of water heater you have to have. These are going to explode the costs exponentially. Now, in states where there's actual sane governance after a natural disaster or a mitigated disaster like this, they'll sort of do a wholesale variance package on building. I'm not going to hold my breath that LA is that smart.
Yeah. Well, no, I'm afraid not. Listen, Roxanne, we're going to have to leave it there. Roxanne Hoge, thank you so much for your time, and know that everybody in Australia right now is thinking of you guys there in Los Angeles. Thank you so much for your time and making some time on this very difficult time. Stay safe out there.